they immediately set off. Su Jingxing had also informed the one staying behind that he would take away their share and bring them to the canteen. He could spend the money for this dinner without any worries. On the way, Su Jingxing found a chance to ask Feng Taijian what was going on with him over the past few days. His mind had been wandering. Feng Taijian was beaten up by the young man because he was distracted while moving the corpse and accidentally dropped the corpse on the ground. He had been in this state for almost 2 days. Su Jingxing didn't want to interfere at first, but thanks to him, he completed the job change, so he decided to check in curiously. I think someone wants to harm me. Feng Tiejian's face was swollen like a pig's head. With a terrified expression, he said blankly, I realize that there have been people following me every day over the past few days. They wanted to harm me. The corners of Su Jingxing's eyes twitched. He had never expected this answer. Someone wants to harm Feng Taijian. Feng Taijian is just an ordinary official employee of the crematorium. Although he likes to eat, drink, and play, he has never made enemies with others. On the contrary, he has a carefree personality and has many friends. Now all of a sudden, someone has appeared and stalked him, wanting to do harm to him. Is Feng Taijian delusional? Here, Su Jingxing coughed lightly and said, maybe you've been overworked these few days and started hallucinating. I suggest you take a few days off to rest. No, I'm not lying to you, really. Feng Taijian was a little agitated. There are really people following me. There are a total of 3 of them. They think that I don't know. Every once in a while, they will switch. I discovered this long ago. They want to harm me. I won't let them succeed. Isn't it just hiding in the crematorium? It's fine. I won't leave from today onward. If they have the guts, they can come into the crematorium. That works too. Su Jingxing couldn't think of any better words to comfort him, so he nodded in agreement. If someone wants to harm him, he can just hide in the crematorium. Dream on. Looking at Feng Tiejian's condition, he had most likely been triggered by something. He had become a little crazy. Su Jingxing was not his father, he could not care so much. After dinner, Su Jingxing had officially taken up his new post and was now the vice-captain of the security team. He no longer needed to work with Kong de Bao and to monotonously move corpses. Su Jingxing had a new uniform and his own small office. Occasionally, he would go out and patrol the area. The crematorium staff he met along the way all congratulated and greeted him. Su Jingxing also nodded in response. When they greeted him, a word would be tagged with Little Su, Captain. Together, Captain Little Su was everyone's new nickname for Su Jingxing. Of course, there were people who were envious and jealous, but no one dared to speak sarcastically to his face. It was still the same explanation. Su Jingxing was a martial artist. A martial artist who was almost in the 8th grade before he was even 16 years old. His status and identity were already different from ordinary people. Whether they were envious or jealous, they only dared to discuss it in private. No one would be so bold as to speak to his face. Su Jingxing was mentally prepared for this. He automatically ignored these discussions and spent most of his time in the small office, cultivating a few secret abilities. 10 o'clock at night, he would knock off and go home. The transaction was set to be at 11:30 p.m. Su Jingxing immediately prepared the great $U and transferred them to Xinqian in advance so that she could be prepared. Regardless of whether the energy-gathering stones in the other party hands were genuine or not. There was no harm in making preparations. Of course, if they were discovered to be fake and the other party even has thoughts that they shouldn't have, Su Jingxing didn't mind teaching them a lesson. Thus, he stayed in the small courtyard at the foot of the mountain until past 11 o'clock. It was almost time. Su Jingxing took out his cloak and mask and put them on. He came to the courtyard and soared into the sky. He flew through the air toward the trading location. At the South Bank Bridge of the Western District. At this time, the bridge above the Sky-Water River in the Western District was empty. Only the occasional car whizzed past and disappeared around the corner. When Su Jingxing arrived, it was 5 minutes before the transaction time. 3 people were already standing on the bridge. His night vision and distant vision were activated at the same time. Su Jingxing looked into the distance and realized that the 3 of them seemed rather imposing. They seemed like desperados. Su Jingxing was not afraid at all. He quietly landed under a tree less than 10 meters away from the bridge. Then, he slowly walked towards the 3 of them. His secret ability, Advanced Hearing, was activated once again and he listened to the conversation between the 3 people. How is it? Is he here yet? Not yet. Speaking of which, this mysterious big client isn't bluffing, is he? 5 million per kilogram. Is he really offering such a high price? Whether it's true or not, we'll know later. I'm just afraid. You have energy-gathering stones in your hands? Su Jingxing's voice sounded, interrupting their discussion. Whoa! You scared me. The bald man among the 3 jumped back when he heard the voice. Then, he touched his head and looked at Su Jingxing with a glimmer in his eyes. Cough cough. Another middle-aged man with a beard was also startled. However, he quickly calmed down and looked at Su Jingxing. He probed, "May I ask if you are the person buying the energy-gathering stones?" Yes. Su Jingxing lowered his voice and said in a deep voice, "Where's the energy-gathering stones? Bring them out for me to examine. If they're real, I will make payment immediately." The 3 of them fell silent. They exchanged glances. After a while, the middle-aged man with a beard said, "It's like this. For safety reasons, we only brought 1 stone." I understand. Su Jingxing interrupted and said quickly again, "Show me what you brought." All right. The middle-aged man and the 2 others looked at one another and took out a small package. They opened it and handed it to Su Jingxing. Swoosh! Su Jingxing waved his hand and released his true energy to pull the energy stone towards him from a distance. 10 centimeters long, palm-sized. After sensing carefully and confirming that it was real, Su Jingxing nodded and said, "I'll give 5 million great dollars for this energy-gathering stone." Sure, the middle-aged man replied hurriedly. Seeing this, Su Jingxing took out his phone and dialed Shen Qian's number. After the call connected, he said, "Transfer 5 million," and hung up. The middle-aged man and the bald man were excited and they heard that and waited expectantly. Su Jingxing said nothing. 5 minutes later, the middle-aged man's phone rang with a notification. He took it out to take a look, and tapped around. When he put it down, he could not hide the joy on his face. "I've received it. 5 million. Great." Hearing this, the bald man and his companions were very spirited. Since the payment is in, the deal is closed. With these words, Su Jingxing shot into the sky. In less than a breath, he disappeared into the horizon. The trio were stunned at this sight. After a long time. Fourth grade. The bald man swallowed his saliva, his face covered in shock. He's a 4th grade. I saw it. The middle-aged man took a deep breath. While his eyes were filled with shock, relief appeared on his face. "Fortunately, we didn't attack just now. Stop talking." The 3rd person raised his hand to cut him off. He looked around and his body trembled slightly. "Don't say those words." The bald man and the middle-aged man immediately shut their mouths. Those words. What words? Fish in troubled waters. The 3 of them were all 6th grade martial artists. They didn't have any backgrounds or backers. They plundered for a living. Over the past few years, they had worked together and killed many martial artists. The energy-gathering stone that they had traded with Su Jingxing this time had been seized from someone else. This time, they had also come with the intention of robbing. After Su Jingxing checked the goods and paid, they would snatch the stone back and extort another sum from him. Of course, this was part of the plan. If Su Jingxing had come with others and there were 4 or 5 martial artists in the middle ranks here together, then it would be a normal transaction. Just now, after Su Jingxing readily made payment, they wanted to use a secret signal, but unexpectedly, Su Jingxing immediately flew away. He did not step on air or walk on water. Instead, he charged into the sky and disappeared into the horizon. This level of true energy cultivation. F***ck, only a 4th stage cultivator could achieve this. Would they dare to rob a 4th grade expert? Truly not knowing what death was. Terror, lingering fear, and shock. The 3 of them stood rooted to the ground, their backs drenched in sweat. It was only when a car drove over from the other end of the bridge and they heard the sound that they suddenly came to their senses. The next moment, they started running without another word. As for the next transaction, there was no second energy-gathering stone. They had told Shen Qian earlier, 1 big and 1 small, 2 energy-gathering stones. The bigger one was a fake. Although the trio claimed that they hadn't brought it, it was actually kept in their pockets. Originally, their plan was, if Su Jingxing was alone, to use the second fake stone to force Su Jingxing to buy it after he bought the first one. That's right, the trio had come up with several plans. But after knowing that Su Jingxing was a 4th grade martial artist, all the plans were made useless. Another transaction, to force a sale. With their lives gone, there would be no need for a trade. The night wind blew. Su Jingxing executed the 8 steps rising dragon and flew in the air. He released his true energy to cover his entire body, forming a protective barrier of true energy that kept him fearless of the air resistance and the strong winds. Instead of returning to the courtyard at the foot of the mountain, he headed straight for the Tai Ming Mountain Reservoir. Yes, Su Jingxing wanted to take a gamble. He would use the boundless vitality of the life extension card on the concentration fruit tree. If he were to fail, he would waste a life extension card and also possibly affect the concentration fruit tree. If he was successful, he would obtain the concentration fruit in advance. There was a 50% chance of winning this gamble. Su Jingxing was willing to take the risk. Of course, the reason why Su Jingxing dared to take the gamble was because after his soul power increased substantially, his 6th sense as a martial artist was also strengthened along with it. This subconscious feeling expanded from a sudden impulse to a simple prediction. After the thought of unlocking the life extension card and using it on the concentration fruit tree appeared, Su Jingxing did not sense anything else. The lack of a situation was a good sign. Therefore, Su Jingxing decided to take a gamble. He followed the underground tunnel and arrived at the underground cave with familiar ease. Su Jingxing stood in front of the concentration fruit tree and took out the life extension card. He took a few steps back. The moment he unlocked it, he swiftly retreated to the corner of the cave. Swoosh! The light released by the card immediately enveloped the tree. A surge of vitality burst forth from the light and wrapped around the concentration fruit tree, targeting the tree for an unknown mutation. Was it accelerating growth, turning it bigger or smaller, or would there be a lesion? Su Jingxing stood in the corner, waiting anxiously yet eagerly. Buzz! Buzz! The giant concentration fruit tree was like a heart in the light, vibrating the air and releasing a buzzing sound. At this moment, the glowing trunk and branches could not be seen at all. The entire concentration fruit tree was like a big ball of light. The bright light washed away all the darkness in the underground cave, as if it was daytime inside it. It was as if there was a sun emitting endless light, dispersing all darkness. Su Jingxing had no choice but to close his eyes for the time being and sense the changes in the concentration fruit tree using the secret ability of the advanced hearing. The boundless vitality released by the life extension card was currently carrying out deep changes with the concentration fruit tree. Buzz. Buzz. The buzzing continued. The changes to the concentration fruit tree spread to Su Jingxing. Its vitality was becoming more affluent. It was as if the concentration fruit tree had been triggered in some way and was also erupting with its own vitality. The energy-gathering stones buried under the ground around the concentration fruit tree were also showing unusual changes. It had attracted the soil layers inside and outside the underground cave and the underground river at the edge, and the ley lines beneath the earth. All the worldly energy in the area gathered at the roots under the powerful guidance of the energy-gathering stones. Then, it was channeled into the trunk of the concentration fruit tree through the roots. Wave after wave. In Su Jingxing's perception, all the worldly energy everywhere, above his head and beneath feet, in the air, the ground, and river water was being absorbed by the concentration fruit tree. Under the stimulation of the boundless vitality, the wondrous tree seemed to come to life. Like it had gained its own consciousness, it constantly absorbed worldly energy. As for the changes after absorbing so much energy, Su Jingxing couldn't see or sense them. He could only confirm that the vitality of the concentration fruit tree was getting stronger and stronger. It was many times more than the vitality that was unlocked from the life extension card. Su Jingxing could not tell what would happen to the concentration fruit tree with so much vitality. He had finally experienced what it meant by change always going beyond plans. The information regarding the concentration fruit tree recorded in the record of wondrous things did not contain descriptions of it automatically absorbing worldly energy. But now, it had appeared. It could only be said that the person who wrote the book did not know the details of the concentration fruit tree. Su Jingxing didn't dare to interfere in such an unforeseen event. All he could do was wait anxiously and patiently. 10 minutes. Half an hour. An hour. 2 hours. 5 hours had passed, but the concentration fruit tree was still enshrouded in light and hadn't stopped mutating. 10 hours passed, but the concentration fruit tree was still mutating. 20 hours passed, the concentration fruit tree was still mutating. However, Su Jingxing sensed good news. The concentration fruit tree's boundless vitality was already weakening at a very fast rate. At the same time, the movement of absorbing the worldly energy in the underground, in the water, and air had also disappeared. It was as if it had fought a battle and only the finishing touches were still ongoing. Su Jingxing waited for more than 3 hours before he opened his eyes and looked at the tree. As expected, the light surrounding the concentration fruit tree was slowly dissipating. First, the outline of the tree was revealed, then the crown, branches, leaves, and fruits. The fruits had appeared. 30 years to flower, 30 years to bear fruit, 30 years for the fruits to ripen. To eat the concentration fruit, he would have to wait for 90 years. This time, Su Jingxing took a huge gamble. He used the life extension card to stimulate the concentration fruit tree and actually awakened this wondrous tree. It absorbed the energy underground, in the water, and in the air. In one go, the time required was shortened by decades, the flowering was skipped and fruits the size of an infant's fist were born. The half-red and half-green concentration fruit was obviously not ripe. When the red color faded and the fruit turned completely green, it would completely ripe. The concentration fruit recorded in the record of wondrous things was not red, but green. Looking at the color, without relying on external forces, it would take more than 10 years before the concentration fruits become fully ripe. More than 10 years, Su Jingxing didn't want to wait either. 10 days seemed more like it. With this in mind, Su Jing walked back to the concentration fruit tree, dug up the soil, and checked the spots where the energy-gathering stones were buried. As expected, there were quite a few energy-gathering stones that lost their luster and turned into gray stones. Initial estimates showed that at least half of the energy-gathering stones had lost their function. The remaining half was also much dimmer. Clearly, the concentration fruit tree had destroyed more than half of the energy-gathering stones while using them to absorb worldly energy. The energy-gathering stones lost their effect and turned into ordinary stones. It was clearly unrealistic to have the concentration fruit tree devour energy again to accelerate its maturation. Su Jingxing would have to get more energy-gathering stones and replenish the stock. Or, extract a second life extension card. This probability of the latter was even lower. Su Jingxing obtaining more energy-gathering stones was a more reliable option. He made one circle around the concentration fruit tree. Other than bearing fruit, there were no other changes. After confirming that there was no problem, Su Jingxing left the underground cave and returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain. I've just become the vice captain, and I've already skipped work, coming out here for a day and night. I wonder what people in the crematorium are saying about me behind my back. Su Jingxing flew in the air and thought to himself. Suddenly, the sound of fighting came from the ground. Su Jingxing, who was dashing through the air, subconsciously looked down. Activating night vision and distant vision, he saw two groups of people fighting in the forest on the shore of the Sky-Water River. There were only 3 people in one group and 8 people in the other group. The realms of the two groups seemed to be about the same. Therefore, the difference in numbers caused the first group of people to be suppressed and forced to retreat. They were totally fighting while retreating. When Su Jingxing looked down from the sky, a woman among the trio had only lasted a few seconds before she was suddenly hit and fell to the ground, losing her ability to escape. A young man beside her roared angrily when he saw this. Then, his entire body suddenly glowed. It was like he had turned into an electric light bulb, his skin, eyes, and hair all turned golden. This is Super Saiyan. In the air, Su Jingxing's pupils constricted slightly as he looked at the man who had transformed into a golden human with astonishment in his gaze. His entire body is golden in color. There is definitely something up with this fellow's constitution or bloodline. That was because Su Jingxing could sense that his current state was not a result of martial arts or secret ability, but purely from the power in his body. Such strength would mean either a unique constitution or a bloodline legacy. Those with the former were called transcendent body martial artists, while those with the latter were called bloodline martial artists. There was no way to pass down a transcendent body, though some people were born with all kinds of special spiritual bodies. Heaven-defying opportunities in the future would also change their physiques. On the other hand, bloodline martial artists could pass down their bloodline generation after generation. Even if an accident happened in the middle, and the bloodline was diminished, it would suddenly rise again in a certain generation. The Shi family's 3 candles blood was an example. Therefore, the young man who had transformed into a golden human in the forest now was outstanding in at least one aspect, physique or bloodline. Of course, it was also possible for him to have both, even though the probability of that was extremely low. But in history, there were indeed people who were both transcendent body martial artists and bloodline martial artists. What was it for this young man? Out of curiosity, Su Jingxing was in no hurry to return. He descended from the sky and stopped on top of a big tree. He used the ghost python breath-holding technique and concealed all his aura. He looked at the young man from afar and his subsequent movements after transforming into a golden human. Powerful. After transforming into a golden human, the young man's strength, speed, explosive power, impact, defense, and destructive power were all amplified several times. Su Jingxing couldn't estimate the exact amount. That was because the young man only needed a few charges to completely wipe out the other group of people chasing and attacking them. One of the leaders among them was very powerful. If he was not in the 4th grade, he would be a peak 5th grade. This was determined by the fluctuations of true energy released. Facing the young man who had transformed into a golden human, the burly leader unleashed his full strength and did not dare to hold back. The true energy fluctuations he released contained at least 50 years of cultivation. Less than 60 years, but more than 50 years. At this stage, he could either be a 4th grade or 5th grade martial artist. For now, it was difficult to make a judgment. He could only be certain once he faced him and exchanged blows. Hence, watching his fight with the young man, Su Jingxing could only see how powerful the young man was after transforming into a golden human. In less than 3 exchanges, the burly leader was killed. In an instant, the young man's terrifying impact split the corpse into several sections. To be honest, if it was Su Jingxing, he would not have been a match for the young man unless he released at least 300 years of true energy cultivation. This was what was frustrating about transcendent body martial artists and bloodline martial artists. Of course, compared to the 3 candles blood of the Shi family that could only assist in one's cultivation to break through to the next realm, the uniqueness of this young man was even more prominent. It was completely one-sided oppression. If this fellow is also a bloodline martial artist, then there are differences in strength between bloodline martial artists. Su Jingxing murmured. He only knew of the existence of bloodline martial artists, but he did not have in-depth knowledge. This young man. All of a sudden, Su Jingxing raised his eyebrows in surprise. It was because the young man was looking at him. At a distance of 700 to 800 meters, in the night at that, the young man had actually discovered Su Jingxing. His bright golden eyes seemed to be really discharging electricity as he looked at Su Jingxing with wariness and coldness. Interesting. Su Jingxing chuckled but didn't dodge or get angry. With a tap of his toes, his body flew up high like a giant bird and rushed towards the area where the young man and company were. Buzz. The air vibrated. An even more dazzling golden light was suddenly released from the young man's body. This beam of light dispersed the darkness and illuminated a radius of 100 meters. The originally dark forest instantly became bright and radiant. However, Su Jingxing didn't slow down. He continued to fly towards him under the young man's fixed gaze. During this process, Su Jingxing could clearly sense the overflowing combat intent emanating from the young man. Even though this combat intent contained shock, fear, and restrained rage. Su Jingxing was still approaching quickly. However, when he was about 80 meters away from the young man's group, Su Jingxing suddenly turned around and soared into the sky. He sped up and wrapped his body in true energy before disappearing into the horizon. Thump. In the forest, as he watched Su Jingxing disappear into the air and sensed the aura of this unknown expert completely disappear, the young man's body went limp and he fell back onto the ground. The golden light on his body also disappeared in an instant, and the forest returned to darkness. 7th Young Master. 7th Brother, are you all right? When the young man's 2 companions saw this, they hurried over and surrounded the young man with worried expressions. I'm fine. The young man was lying on the ground, panting heavily. I'm just exhausted. It's all my fault. The woman blamed herself. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have used your bloodline power. It has nothing to do with you. The young man let out a breath and said, just now, a 4th grade expert was watching us from afar. Ah. Another man heard this and exclaimed, there was someone nearby. 4th grade? The woman widened her eyes. Yes, he's in the 4th grade. The young man slowed down his breathing slightly. He had been watching us from afar. I don't know his background, whether he's friend or foe, or he could just be passing by. But in my perception, he's very strong. He has at least 100 years of cultivation. TSS. The man and the woman sucked in a breath of cold air. A 4th grade martial artist with 100 years of cultivation. Ordinary 4th grade martial artists were no match for such an expert. Don't worry, he has already left. The young man exhaled. When he flew toward us earlier, I thought he had some ulterior motive, but he suddenly turned around and disappeared into the horizon. Huh. The 2 others were stunned. This What is that expert trying to do? Who knows? The young man bitterly smiled. No matter what, it's still a good thing that he left. I never expected to almost be targeted by an old monster with 100 years of cultivation while coming out here to try my luck this time. A century-old monster. This was a form of ridicule towards martial artists who had a cultivation of more than 100 years when they were in the 4th grade. Su Jingxing, who had returned to his small courtyard at the foot of the mountain, did not know that he had had the honors of becoming a century-old monster. At this moment, he took out the few cards he had just extracted and checked them one by one. The content of one of the cards surprised him. It was a memory card. It contained 10 years of memories of a man named Guyuzi from when he was alive. Guyuzi was from Xian Bank, it was unclear when he joined them. In any case, at the very beginning of the 10-year memory, he had already joined the Xian Bank. All Su Jingxing knew about the Xian Bank was that its biggest shareholder was the Lu family. Lu Xian was the founder of Xian Bank in its early days. But that was in the past, in ancient times. 100 years ago, the owners of Xian Bank had taken turns to run it. One of them was naturally the Lu family, while the other was the Zheng family. According to Guyuzi's memories, the Zheng family's ancestors were not from Xian Bank at all. On the contrary, a Zheng family's son had married into the Lu family and their status in the Lu family was very low. Unexpectedly, the Zheng family's second generation rose to prominence. The Zheng family ancestor who married into the Lu family had an extremely talented son. After he grew up, for some reason, he insisted on taking the Zheng name. As there was the blood of the Lu family flowing in his veins and because the person helming the Lu family then doted on him, he was allowed to have the surname Zheng. As a result, as soon as this exception was made, all the direct descendants of the Lu family with great martial arts talent in the later generations changed their surname to Zheng. Although members of the Zheng family also had the Lu family's bloodline, cracks appeared between the other descendants of the Lu family that didn't have Zheng blood and the Zheng family. This rift had not been resolved until today. Instead, the descendants of the Zheng family had not changed their surname back to Lu since 100 years ago. They had also joined Xian Bank to seize power. The Lu family descendant that Guyuzi was following was Lu Chen, whom Su Jingxing had heard of before. Lu Chen's status in the Lu family was not bad, but he was not one of the top few. As his follower, Guyuzi was naturally not any better off. In Xian Bank, he was just a small leader of a branch. He had come to Qinghe City with Lu Chen this time because Lu Chen had come to the city to find a map. A mysterious map that could allow Lu Chen's realm to advance by leaps and bounds and become a third-grade powerhouse. Guyuzi did not know what secrets this map contained, where it was hidden, or whose hands it came from. He only knew that the mysterious map was in Xiantian University, but he did not know its exact location. They were hunting the young man who had transformed into a golden human and his companions because they had been following the trio for a long time. Lu Qin sent people to Xiantian University to look for the map. After they never returned, he made use of his connections to investigate. In the end, they realized that the trio were also looking for the map. Hence, he had Guyuzi lead his men to tail after them. The latter had left the city that night and came to the mountain forest. Their intended destination was the Taiming Mountain Reservoir, but the reason was unknown. Guyuzi fought with them completely because he and his men were exposed. When Su Jingxing saw this, he guessed there was an 80% chance that the trio were heading to the Taiming Mountain Reservoir because of the concentration fruit tree. The concentration fruit tree absorbed the energy in the air, underground, and in the water. It caused quite a commotion. Su Jingxing was mentally prepared when he was underground. When he came out previously, he didn't find anyone near the reservoir and was a little puzzled. Now, he finally figured it out. The trio had been paying attention. It was just that they were very unfortunately followed, yet were fortunate enough to discover Guyuzi's group who was doing that. Then, the two groups of people got engaged in a fight. Su Jingxing saw everything that happened subsequently. At this moment, the section of memory that Su Jingxing was interested in was not about the trio, but when Guyuzi went with Lu Chen to visit a local martial arts family in Qinghe City. The He family. Not the Li family, nor was it the Zhou, Wang or Qi families. And absolutely not the Shi family that Su Jingxing had destroyed. It was the He family who kept an extremely low profile. In any case, Su Jingxing had never heard of a martial arts family with the surname He in Qinghe City. To be called a martial arts family, the family must have a fourth-grade expert. And the influence of the martial families that had fourth-grade powerhouses wasn't weak. They were quite well known too. But this He family was an exception. Su Jingxing and the original Su Jingxing were both young, so it was normal for them not to know. However, even in Wan Rong's 40 years of memory, he was unaware of the He family's existence. That was astonishing. According to Guyuzi's memories, when he visited the He family with Lu Chen, he had asked Lu Chen about this family's background. He wondered why, given Lu Chen's identity, that he had to humble himself to visit them. In the end, Lu Chen's reply shocked everyone with him. That was, this He family might have a third-grade powerhouse. In both the Li family and the Martial Suppression Office, fourth grade was the highest realm in Qinghe City. This extremely low-profiled He family actually had a third-grade expert. This was too shocking. Of course, what Lu Chen said was a possibility, not a certainty. The reason why Lu Chen couldn't confirm it was because he wasn't sure if the previous patriarch of the He family, the third-grade expert, was still alive. That's right, the previous patriarch of the He family was a third-grade big shot. Lu Chen was sure of this because he had seen it with his elders before. That was when he was young. Now that almost 20 years had passed, he wasn't sure if the other party was still alive. When they arrived at the He family's residence, the person who received Lu Chen was not the previous patriarch but the current one. At that time, Lu Chen had tried to meet the elderly patriarch, but he was perfunctorily rejected by the current patriarch. They did not tell Lu Chen whether the elderly patriarch was dead or alive. Anyway, after Lu Chen left, he threw a tantrum but did not dare to say anything. According to Guyuzi's memory, Lu Chen had revealed a lot of information when he was cursing. The He family was possibly in the know about the mysterious map that Lu Chen was looking for. However, Lu Chen wasn't sure if the elderly patriarch of the He family was still alive. He didn't dare to offend them. That was why he didn't force them to speak about the situation. Regarding the He family's information, Guyuzi waited for Lu Chen to calm down before asking carefully. Then, an old and low-profiled martial arts family that had existed since the founding of the Yu nation for 400 years all the way until today, was exposed to Guyuzi. Through Guyuzi's memories, Su Jingxing also saw everything in his mind. 400 years. The He family had a history of as long as 400 years. It was more than 100 years longer than the Li family, the #1 martial arts family in Qinghe City. Even though Su Jingxing had been through a lot during this period of time, he couldn't help but feel deeply moved by this martial arts family that hid in the dark and never developed their own faction. They only held on to a scholar restaurant and kept a low profile for 400 years. Compared to the Li family and the Shi family, the He family was frighteningly low-key. It was easy to keep a low profile for a while, but to do that for 100 to 400 years was unimaginable. There were too many examples of family clans with wise ancestors but foolish descendants. Even the Li family had almost gone extinct because of their descendants' stupidity. The He family, on the other hand, was able to maintain their position for 400 years. Outsiders never knew and never paid attention to them. There must be a secret. This He family definitely has secrets. Su Jingxing knew about the scholar restaurant. It was a century-old restaurant located on an old street between the Western District and Southern District. It had a very good reputation, but business operations were average. There were rumors about scholar restaurants circulating online. It was said that someone had once recommended himself to help the boss promote the business and expand the influence of the restaurant. The person suggested opening a branch in the prefecture city. In the end, he was rejected by the boss of Scholar Restaurant. The excuse was that they were very satisfied with the current situation and did not want any major changes. Since the boss was not interested in expansion, the others were naturally discouraged. Su Jingxing had casually read the information then and didn't take it to heart. From the looks of it now, the He family had been intentionally maintaining the status quo of Scholar Restaurant. A martial arts family with 400 years of history, on the surface, ran a restaurant. The boss even came from a family of chefs. Who would have thought that they were martial arts experts? Third grade. TSK. While he was left speechless, Su Jingxing sighed from the bottom of his heart. The number one expert in Qinghe City was Li Linzhou, but there should be a few people with similar strength to him in secret. For example, the Li and Zhou families' old patriarchs. These martial families with legacies for hundreds of years had deep foundations and many of their members were powerful. Just like Sherzini. If not for the fact that he had suffered qi deviation while cultivating the blood drop heretic art, he would not be weaker than Li Linzhou. Similarly, no one knew that the He family was 400 years old, not even Li Linzhou. After all, Li Linzhou had only been the commander of city governance of the Martial Suppression Office in Qinghe City for less than 10 years. However, the Li, Zhou, Qi families were all local martial arts factions with legacies of over 100 years. There was a 99% chance they knew about the He family. Including the Shi family. In order to advance to the third grade, Sherzini had gone on a killing spree, cultivating a heretic art. Perhaps he had been provoked by the He family. Who knew if a martial arts family suspected to have a third-grade martial artist would suddenly go crazy? Even though they had kept a low profile for 400 years, the more low profile they were, the more fearful they were. The Shi, Li, Zhou and Qi families. All the factions that were aware of the He family's existence were wary of them. Even Su Jingxing felt a little apprehensive. Before seeing this section of the memories, Su Jingxing dared to go to any place in Qinghe City. With his true energy cultivation of 351 years, he was not afraid of anyone. But now, knowing that there might be a hidden third-grade big shot in Qinghe City, Su Jingxing thought that it would be better to keep a low profile. Even a third-grade big shot was keeping a low profile, so he, a person in the 5th grade, had no reason not to. Looks like 351 years of cultivation is not enough. Su Jingxing narrowed his eyes. If my cultivation is insufficient, I shall continue to increase it. With this in mind, Su Jingxing unlocked all the true energy cards he had extracted. He then absorbed and converted the true energy into heaven-trampling true energy. Then, he took out 3 true energy cards from his reserves. He unlocked and absorbed the true energy to accumulate 400 years of true energy cultivation. 400 years of true essence cultivation, how long can I last against true essence? Su Jingxing's eyes flashed. The next day, Su Jingxing went to work at the crematorium early in the morning. The moment he walked in, he extracted a bunch of cards. After that, he did not rush to read the information. He first patrolled the area and greeted people he knew before returning to his office. He took out the cards and checked what function cards they were. Internal Force card, Strength Enhancement card, Essence Energy card, Strength Enhancement card, Skill card, Internal Force card. They were all ordinary cards. Even though there were skill cards, they did not contain martial arts or secret ability. Instead, they were culinary skills. Such life skills could be repeatedly extracted. Su Jingxing basically placed them all in a corner of his palm space. The other internal force cards were accumulated. The strength enhancement cards and essence energy cards were unlocked. The strength pills and essence energy pills obtained were stored separately. After that, he continued tempering his true energy and honing his secret abilities. 2 hours later, he went out to patrol the area again. When he returned to his office, another bunch of cards appeared in his palm space. As usual, Su Jingxing took them out one by one, held them in his palm, and read their descriptions. Strength Enhancement Card, Strength Enhancement Card, Essence Energy Card, Essence Energy Card, Internal Force Card, Strength Enhancement Card, True Essence Card, Essence Energy Card. Still the same, they were all ordinary cards. The only card that stood out was the True Energy. Hold on. Suddenly, Su Jingxing's body shook, his eyes filled with shock. He quickly drew out one of the cards and read the information again. He had seen right. It was indeed a True Essence card. It was a True Essence card with 3 years of cultivation. True Essence card, True Essence card. Su Jingxing murmured, unable to hide the shock on his face. The True Essence card, as the name suggested, unlocked to give a ball of attributeless True Essence. But, is True Essence something that an ordinary martial artist could possess? Top ranks. Only martial artists in the top ranks will have True Essence. The card cannot fool. This meant that among the corpses I've extracted from earlier, there is a corpse of a third-grade powerhouse. A third-grade expert in Qinghe City has died? Nope. If there is, the entire city would be in an uproar. Is there a third-grade expert in Qinghe City? Su Jingxing didn't think so before midnight. But after watching Gu Yuzi's memories, Su Jingxing knew that there might be one in Qinghe City. The previous patriarch of the He family, who had been keeping a low profile for 400 years. Lu Chen from Xi'an Bank was not sure if the elderly patriarch was still alive. Now, Su Jingxing was 99% sure. He was dead. The True Essence card he extracted most likely came from this previous patriarch of the He family. This news was too shocking and hard to believe, but it could be verified. The verification method was very simple. Su Jingxing put away all the cards and walked out of the office. He went to the information room and pulled out all the information about the people who had died. He checked every file one by one and found a suspicious entry. Higuren. This was an old man called Higuren. He was 98 years old. Cause of death, complete aging of major organs. Which meant that it was a natural death due to old age. In the eyes of others, this piece of information wasn't anything special. At most, they would sigh at Higu's peaceful passing, truly a natural death. But in Su Jingxing's eyes, it was full of questionable points. Higuren, he won. A 98-year-old dying of old age. It would probably take another 20 years. When Lu Chen met the previous patriarch of the He family when he was young, this third-grade expert was already in his 90s. If the other party had lived until now, there was no doubt that he had reached the end of his lifespan. 118 years old. As for why the He family falsified the information, even giving the relatives who sent Higuren off the surname He. It was clear that they did not want any accidents, just like their style of keeping a low profile for 400 years. After all, if news of a third-grade expert's death were to spread, the commotion it would cause would be unimaginable. The He family was probably already familiar with how to carry out their funeral arrangements quietly. If Su Jingxing had not used his cheat ability and extracted the True Essence card, he would not have known. Of course, whether Higuren was the previous patriarch of the He family or not, he still needed to verify. Find out this old patriarch's real name. If I can be 100% sure that Higuren is the previous patriarch of the He family, I'm sure the Li family will be very happy. Not just the Li family. The Zhou and Qi families would be delighted as well. No one likes to have a knife hanging above their heads forever. Now, only Su Jingxing knew that that knife might have disappeared. In order to verify that that knife had completely disappeared, Su Jingxing snapped a shot of Higuren's photo in the file. Then, he contacted Li Lilo and arranged to meet him at the southern bank of the Sky Water River. Last time, they had worked together to deal with Sherzini. After that, they had exchanged contact details. If there was anyone in the entire Qinghe city who knew the exact details of the He family best, it would definitely be the Li family. Su Jingxing contacted Li Lilo because he wanted to use the Li family to confirm He Guren's identity. Regardless of whether his identity was real or fake, the Li family should be very interested. If it was fake, there was no loss. However, if it was real, Su Jingxing would be able to strike a deal with the Li family with this piece of information. A deal for energy-gathering stones. Beep beep. The southern bank of the Sky-Water River. Beside the road. A car honked and stopped at the edge of a platform. Click, thump. Li Lilo opened the door and got out of the car. He waved at the driver to drive the car away. He then strode to the end of the platform, his gaze landing on Su Jingxing, who was wearing a cloak and a mask. Guest Elder Lin, long time no see. Li Lilo laughed heartily as he walked. Fourth Master Li. Su Jingxing turned around and looked at Li Lilo. He lowered his voice and said, I asked Fourth Master here today because I have something I would like to consult you about. There's no need to be so polite. Guest Elder Lin, just call me Fourthly. Li Lilo smiled and said, I don't know what you want to know. But as long as I have the information, I will tell you everything. He family, Scholar Restaurant. Su Jingxing spoke calmly, his eyes fixed on Li Lilo. As expected, the moment he said the words, He family, Scholar Restaurant, Li Lilo's expression changed slightly and a strange look flashed through his eyes. He family? What He family? Li Lilo looked confused. Is Guest Elder Lin talking about the martial arts family in the southern district founded by He Xiaofeng? Heh, Fourth Master clearly knows which He family I'm referring to, so why ask even though you already know the answer? Su Jingxing was indifferent. The He family that has been around for 400 years. They're so low-key that few know of their existence. Fourth Master, don't tell me that even the Li family hasn't heard of them either. Li Lilo was silent. After a while, he sighed and said, I'm sorry, I'm eating my own words. Guest Elder Lin is right, we do know of the He family's existence. The He family that has existed for 400 years, TSK. Everyone in Qinghe City says that the Li family is the #1 martial arts family in Qinghe. However, the true #1 martial arts family is the He family. The He family that has been staying behind the scenes for 400 years and is rarely known by outsiders. Because the He family has a third-grade expert? Su Jingxing asked. Yes and no. Li Lilo, who had opened up, looked at the surface of the Sky-Water River and said in a low voice, although the He family produces third-grade martial artists every few decades, what we are truly wary of is the secret of the He family. What secret? Su Jingxing was curious. If it's difficult to share, you don't have to say it. There's nothing difficult, because we don't know either. Li Lilo smiled. No one knows the secret of the He family, not even their own people. Only the patriarch of each generation does. Before the previous patriarch passes on, he or she will pass the secret on to the next patriarch. Clearing the room and passing it on verbally, they have handed down the secret for 400 years. This secret is the key to the longevity of the He family. It's also the key to their birth of top-ranked experts. The Li family has been trying to find out more about them, but we never dared to confront them openly and cause conflict. Guest Elder Lin, you've experienced just how terrifying a powerhouse in the top ranks is. Zini merely cultivated a heretic art and forcefully advanced to pseudo-third grade. Yet he nearly suppressed all of us. The He family, however, has a true third-grade expert. The Li family has a ban. We must not disturb the He family before we have a third-grade expert. So, the Li family should know a lot about the He family, right? Except for that secret, Su Jingxing interrupted. Yes, we do know most of their situation. Li Lilo nodded his head. What about the He family do you want to find out from me? The previous patriarch, Su Jingxing said in a low voice. The previous patriarch of the He family. Does fourth master know his name and what he looks like? Do you have a photo? He Rengu. The previous patriarch of the He family is called He Rengu. Li Lilo replied, I've forgotten what he looks like, but there are photos of him at 50 years old. Can I have a look? Su Jingxing held back his excitement. He Rengu, He Guren. Su Jingxing would never believe that these two names were not related. Well, Li Lilo muttered. I have news about He Renhu. Seeing this, Su Jingxing maintained his composure and said, I'm sure fourth master knows that He Rengu is a third-grade expert. Now, I have news about him. Are you interested? Yes. Li Lilo gritted his teeth. Please wait a moment, guest Elder Lin. I'll call the patriarch now and have him get some to find a photo of He Rengu and send it to me. With that, he took out his phone and walked to the other side to dial the number of the current patriarch of the Li family. Su Jingxing stood where he was and did not activate the secret ability, Advanced Hearing, to listen in on Li Lilo's whispered report. A few minutes later, Li Lilo finished his call and waited for a while. With a strange ring, he received an image on his phone. Li Lilo tapped on the picture and walked back to Su Jingxing with his phone, handing it to him. This is He Rengu. Taken when he was 50 years old. Li Lilo pointed at the enlarged picture on the phone and said, at that time, he wasn't in the third grade yet and was still moving around outside. This picture was taken when he was traveling with his wife. At that time, cameras couldn't print photos automatically. After he took the photo, he went to a roadside photo studio to develop it. We took advantage of the situation and kept the photo. Su Jingxing didn't say anything. He took the phone and looked at the middle-aged version of He Rengu. In his brain, it slowly deduced to become He Rengu's aged appearance. He then compared it to the photo of He Guren taken from the crematorium file. When compared, it was confirmed. He Guren and He Rengu were the same person. The previous patriarch of the He family, a third-grade expert, had died of old age yesterday. Without comparing his appearances at 50 years old and 118 years old, no one could tell. The deduction of this aged appearance was very simple. With Su Jingxing's current soul power, he could easily handle it. After comparing, it was verified. He Rengu had used the alias He Guren and died with the He surname. In order to keep a low profile, the He family had done a lot. How is it, guest Elder Lin? Did you discover anything? Li Lilo waited for a while, but when Su Jingxing didn't say anything, he couldn't help asking. I'm done. Su Jingxing retracted his gaze and returned the phone to Li Lilo. He then changed the topic and asked, May I ask fourth master if the Li family has any extra energy gathering stones? Ah. Li Lilo was stunned for a moment. Then, he thought of something and asked, Is guest Elder Lin the big client who is spending a lot of money to buy energy-gathering stones? If you're talking about the person who recently offered $5 million per kilogram to purchase the energy-gathering stones, yes, that's me. Su Jingxing replied frankly, I'm currently short on energy-gathering stones. If the Li family has extra, I'll buy them from you. I can even offer a higher price from before. This isn't a matter of price, although the price offered by guest Elder Lin is very high. Li Lilo smiled. If you want the energy-gathering stones, we have no lack of them. If you want to trade the information about He Rengu for the right to purchase the energy-gathering stones, you don't have to. As long as the information you provide is true, the Li family is willing to give 500 kilograms of energy-gathering stones. As expected of the number one martial arts family in Qinghe City. 300 years of history, who knew how many energy-gathering stones they had accumulated? The Shi family also had 100 years of history, but they only left behind about 100 kilograms of energy-gathering stones. Of course, the Li family wariness towards the He family was also beyond Su Jingxing's expectations. One piece of information for 500 kilograms of energy-gathering stones. The Li family was indeed wealthy. Fourth master, take a look at this first. Su Jingxing didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took out his phone and opened the photo he had taken in the morning of Higuren and his relevant information for Li Lilo to see. The latter took it and enlarged the photo. As he studied it, he asked doubtfully, "Is there a problem with this person?" Higuren, 98 years old, died of old age, very. Hold on. Suddenly, Li Lilo's expression changed. His eyes widened as he stared at Higuren's aged face. As he read, he quickly unlocked his phone and tapped on the photo of Hirengu that he had just received. The two phones and the two photos were placed side by side and compared carefully. The next moment. This. Li Lilo's entire body was trembling. Surprise, astonishment and disbelief appeared on his face. He. After comparing, he looked up at Su Jingxing, his eyes filled with excitement. That's right. It's exactly what you think. Su Jingxing said calmly, Higuren is Hirengu. He died yesterday and was cremated this morning. Good. Li Lilo roared and looked up at the sky, unable to contain his excitement and ecstasy. Good, wonderful. Ha ha ha. Amidst the laughter, Li Lilo walked around in circles several times. Su Jingxing took this in and did not rush him. He waited quietly. He didn't know the Li family's attitudes towards the He family, but judging from Li Lilo's reaction, the Li family had feared the He family for a long time. The entire Li family wished for Hirengu to die. After a while, Li Lilo suppressed his joy, took a deep breath, and said excitedly, Guest Elder Lin, this information has come at the perfect time. This is great, 500, no, 800 kilograms. For this news, we are willing to give you 800 kilograms of energy-gathering stones. They'll be sent to you immediately. Without waiting for Su Jingxing to say anything, he sent the photo of Higuren's file to his phone. Then, he returned the phone to Su Jingxing, took his own phone, and quickly walked to the side to report the situation to his patriarch. Su Jingxing took the phone and was not anxious either. He listened to Li Lilo's excited voice. 10 minutes later, Li Lilo turned around and shouted at Su Jingxing, Guest Elder Lin, the 800 kilograms of energy-gathering stones have been packaged. They will be transported here in 15 minutes. Thank you. Su Jingxing smiled. No. We should be the ones thanking you. Li Lilo sighed with emotion. Although I don't know where you got the information about the He family and the death of Hirengu, it's enough that the information is true. Our Li family has profited greatly. We will always remember your kindness. There's no need for this, fourth master. I was lucky to find Higuren's information by chance and learn about the He family, Su Jingxing replied calmly without much change in his expression. Li Lilo's words sounded nice, but in reality, the 800 kilograms of energy-gathering stones was the remuneration for the information Su Jingxing had provided. Su Jingxing was well aware of this, and he had no complaints. It was originally a transaction to begin with. Furthermore, Higuren was Hirengu. The news of the death of the previous patriarch of the He family, a third-grade expert, could be sold to the Zhou family and the Qi family. Selling a piece of information to multiple parties. Su Jingxing would make a killing. When men from the Li family transported the two heavy chests over in a truck, Li Lilo personally unloaded and brought them to Su Jingxing. He personally opened the chests and showed Su Jingxing the energy-gathering stones of uniform sizes inside. After confirming that there were no mistakes, Li Lilo handed the two chests to Su Jingxing. He then got into the truck and left quickly, returning to the Li residence. Su Jingxing looked around. After making sure that no one was watching, he put the two chests into his palm space. Then, he contacted Zhou Wensen and arranged to meet on a platform on the southern bank of the next river section. Su Jingxing rushed over first. After half an hour, Zhou Wensen arrived in a car. Going straight to the point, Su Jingxing again probed Zhou Wensen to see if the Zhou family knew about the He family's existence. After confirming, he took out his phone and opened Higuren's photo to let Zhou Wensen compare it to the photos of a younger Hirengu. The Zhou family had also collected photos of Hirengu when he was young. The Zhou family had photos of him as a youth, a middle-aged man, and even at 70 years old. Zhou Wensen was equally shocked and he compared the two photos. The news of Hirengu's death also shocked him. Subsequently, as expected, when Su Jingxing proposed to purchase the energy-gathering stones from them, Zhou Wensen represented the Zhou family to give Su Jingxing 300 kilograms of energy-gathering stones for free. Similar to the Li family, the Zhou family also quickly delivered 300 kilograms of energy-gathering stones to Su Jingxing. After accepting the 300 kilograms of energy-gathering stones, Su Jingxing went on to contact Qi Xinjue. He also asked to meet Qi Xinjue at a platform of a different section of a river. When Qi Xinjue arrived, he shared the news of Hirengu's death. The Qi family also had photos of Hirengu. After Qi Xinjue compared and confirmed the information, she gave Su Jingxing 400 kilograms of energy-gathering stones on behalf of the Qi family. 800, 300, 400. A total of 1,500 kilograms of energy-gathering stones. The news of Hirengu's death was traded for so many energy-gathering stones. I wonder if the He family will be furious if they find out. Su Jingxing chuckled to himself. Of course, he didn't care what would happen to the He family. Although Hirengu had died, there must be many fourth-grade experts in the He family. It won't be easy for the Li, Zhou, and Qi families to deal with the He family. But how they fought had nothing to do with Su Jingxing. Su Jingxing returned to the Taiming Mountain Reservoir with 1,500 kilograms of energy-gathering stones and entered the underground cave. Surrounding the concentration fruit tree, he put down all the energy-gathering stones according to the lines of a basic array formation and buried them underground. With everything settled, the glow emitted by the concentration fruit tree suddenly became brighter. Based on the quantity of these energy-gathering stones, Su Jingxing estimated the time when the concentration fruit would ripen. In the end, he got a rough gauge. 1.5 months, about 50 days. More than 10 years of growing was shortened to 2 months. Su Jingxing's efforts were not in vain. Indeed, great factions had the greatest collection of heavenly treasures like energy-gathering stones. It would take a very long time for him to purchase and such a big amount from independent martial artists. Su Jingxing would find a year or two slow, let alone a decade. Now all was good. The energy-gathering stones that he had obtained from the Li, Zhou, and Qi families successfully resolved his troubles. Within 2 months, he would be able to get large amounts of concentration fruits, increase his soul power, and visualize a condensed heaven-trampling elephant. Once the heaven-trampling elephant was successfully visualized, it could run and roar in his consciousness. Then Su Jingxing would then have the confidence to clash with martial art true intent. The true meaning of martial art true intent was to disrupt reality with one's mind, using attacks and suppression targeted at the soul level. The demonic elephant stomp was also a mental attack. With powerful soul power, the terrifying pressure of martial art true intent would basically become a decoration, ineffective against Su Jingxing. So, for the next 2 months, Su Jingxing would wait patiently. It wouldn't be too late to pay attention to the 400-year-old He family after he successfully visualized the heaven-trampling elephant. Hence, in the subsequent days, Su Jingxing went to work at the crematorium every day, arriving early and leaving late. In the eyes of others, there was nothing else to say. Although Su Jingxing was nowhere to be seen on the first day of his promotion, over the past few days, Su Jingxing arrived earlier and left later than anyone else. With such a professional attitude, no one could say anything. They couldn't ask Su Jingxing not to work so hard, could they? The duties of the vice-captain of the security team were actually very light. He just needed to appear occasionally and patrol the area. Su Jingxing, on the other hand, patrolled almost every 2 hours, forcing the rest of the security team to follow suit. Of course, after Wu Shuhan cracked down on the security team, all the security guards became more serious. At least, they were much better than before. Su Jingxing saw all these, but he didn't say anything. Since he spent most of his time in the crematorium, he naturally extracted almost all the cards available. The internal force cards, strength enhancement cards, and essence energy cards kept accumulating. When he went out with Kong de Bao, Feng Taijian, and the others, he would also pick up true energy cards. After 5 consecutive days, he was loaded with gains. It was just that every time he saw Feng Taijian, the fellow's nervous and absent-minded appearance made him speechless. It had been more than a week, but Feng Taijian still felt that there were people who wanted to harm him. The consequence of being overly nervous was not being able to eat well or sleep well. He had visibly slimmed down and he had dark eye circles every day. His weak, dazed and jumpy state gave Gu Bo, who had returned to the team, a headache. He personally stepped in and approved Feng Tiejian's leave to rest. He thought it was best for him to go to the hospital. But Feng Taijian stubbornly resisted to the end and refused to leave the crematorium no matter what. No one knew what his logic was. He thought that hiding in the crematorium meant no danger. Looking at his situation, not only did he have persecutory delusions, he also had the ability to foresee danger. But wasn't that nonsense? Su Jingxing refused to believe it until that night. It was almost midnight. Su Jingxing was on his last round of patrol. When he was preparing to go home, he bumped into Kong de Bao and his new partner. Kong de Bao had lost the game he was playing during this free time and was cursing. Su Jingxing walked over and glanced at his game screen. At that moment, Su Jingxing, whose mental perception had covered the crematorium, sensed 2 people quietly climbing over the wall and entering the crematorium. Climbing over the wall instead of using the entrance. They are clearly problematic. Su Jingxing decisively used his secret ability, advanced hearing, and locked onto the 2 people who had entered. With the enhancement of his soul power, the range of this secret ability had also expanded. It now covered an area with a radius of more than 250 meters. Coincidentally, Kong de Bao was playing games in the backyard of the crematorium. Su Jingxing stood beside him. The entire area was within the range of his hearing. The 2 people who had climbed over the wall and entered the crematorium immediately rushed to the morgue. Su Jingxing followed their heartbeats and moved quickly until he was close to Feng Taijian, who was leaning against a wall drowsily. Feng Tiejian's partner was also playing games beside him, waiting to knock off. As Su Jingxing listened, the 2 people who had climbed over the wall rushed towards Feng Taijian. The moment they did, their breathing was suddenly concealed and they temporarily disappeared. Even though he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Su Jingxing was 99% certain that these 2 people wanted to harm Feng Taijian. So, Su Jingxing did not hesitate and made a prompt decision. He placed his right palm behind his back and circulated the air-splitting palm. Without a sound, he silently delivered 2 palm strikes from a distance. Beside him, Kong de Bao and his new partner didn't notice anything. Feng Taijian and his partner, who were 70 to 80 meters away, suddenly heard a muffled sound. Bang! Bang! It was like a sudden clap of thunder. The moment Feng Taijian and his partner snapped back to their senses, they saw 2 men in black rushing towards them, each holding a short sword that glinted with cold light. Then, 2 palm imprints suddenly appeared out of nowhere and hit their bodies. One of them flew back, while the other flew to the right at high speeds. The one thrown backwards crashed into a pillar, spitting out blood. Those who flew to the right smashed into the wall, causing the entire wall to shake. Fragments fell, and as he slid to the ground, they also spat out blood. His hands and legs were trembling non-stop. However, these 2 people were tough enough. They were clearly severely injured and in unbearable pain, but they got up immediately and quickly retreated. However, Su Jingxing would not allow that. Bam! Thud! As before, he struck out with his palm soundlessly. His palm strikes were like thunderclaps as he struck out twice more, hitting the two people who were escaping through the air. They were beaten until they vomited blood again, falling onto the ground, the pain unbearable. The reason why Su Jingxing didn't kill them directly was because he wanted to capture them alive and interrogate them. Unexpectedly, the two people lying on the ground seemed to know that they had been targeted and that they could no longer escape. They actually used their short swords to commit eyeside, stabbing their blades into their hearts. As Su Jingxing listened to the heartbeats disappear, he extracted 2 cards. Sacrificial soldiers. The two people who killed themselves so decisively reminded Su Jingxing of their identities. There was a high chance that they were sacrificial soldiers who had been trained since young. Only large factions would nurture and had the ability to nurture such sacrificial soldiers. Feng Taijian was just an ordinary worker at the crematorium, why would he be targeted by them? Su Jingxing was puzzled. Murder. A sharp cry broke the silence in good time. It was Feng Taijian's partner. He finally regained his senses and screamed in fear. The entire crematorium was alerted. What's going on? Kong de Bao put down his phone and raised his head to look in the direction of the voice. It seems like someone is shouting murder over there. Someone has probably died, his partner responded in surprise and doubt. It's murder. Su Jingxing retracted his cultivation quietly and frowned. I'll go take a look. Wait a moment, I'll come too. Kong de Bao followed. And me. His partner fell in last. The 3 of them quickly rushed to the corner where Feng Taijian and his partner were. On the way, the others who heard the scream also rushed out. They gathered into a group and arrived at the fastest speed possible. What happened? Feng Taijian, YR. F***CK, who killed them? The first person to arrive was just about to ask what happened when he saw 2 corpses and was shocked. Who are they? They're in black. One look and you can tell they aren't good people. Feng Taijian, you killed them? Those who had rushed over were shocked, stunned, and confused. However, Feng Taijian remained rooted to the spot and did not respond at all. It was still his partner who managed to regain his composure. Trembling, he replied, it's them. They want to kill us. But, we were saved. Uttering broken sentences, he recounted what had happened. Upon hearing him, Kong de Bao and the others were all surprised. Someone really wanted to harm Feng Taijian. This fellow had been acting like a lunatic for the past few days. It wasn't fake, it had really happened. He was being followed and harmed. Old Feng, what have you done? After a moment of shock passed, Kong de Bao couldn't help but ask. That's right. What exactly did you do out there for people to keep targeting you? They even want your life. Wu Shuhan received the news and led a group of people over. He shouted from afar. Feng Taijian. Wake up. Pa. Seeing this, Kong de Bao slapped Feng Taijian's shoulder with great force, jolting Feng Taijian back to his senses. Ah. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Feng Taijian, who had sobered up, let out a series of screams as he staggered backward. The people who want to kill you are dead. Kong de Bao snapped, tell me, what exactly did you do to get targeted? Feng Taijian was dazed again. Su Jingxing searched the bodies of the 2 sacrificial soldiers but found nothing. He pulled off their masks and looked at their faces. He did not recognize them. Without a doubt, they are sacrificial soldiers. Wu Shuhan swept his eyes over the 2 corpses and said in a deep voice, able to send out sacrificial soldiers to deal with Feng Taijian, this means that the other party's background isn't simple. Feng Taijian, you had better tell us honestly what you've done. Pa. Kong de Bao slapped Feng Tiejian's shoulder again, waking him up. I don't know. Feng Taijian came back to his senses and said with a trembling voice, I didn't do anything. Believe me, I really didn't do anything. I don't know why they targeted me. TCH. Kong de Bao looked at him with disdain. You're still hiding it at this point? No, I really don't know. Feng Taijian went berserk. Everything I did a week ago was no different from the past. I ate good food, had fun, and went to the same places. I didn't meet any bad people or get into a conflict with others. I have no idea why they followed me and wanted to harm me. Then why are you hiding in the crematorium? Before anyone else could say anything, Su Jingxing asked, you said that you don't know. It's indeed possible. Maybe you just saw something unintentionally, that's why you were targeted to be silenced. Let's put this question aside for now. What I want to know is, why are you hiding in the crematorium and knowing that you can escape harm by staying there? This was a crucial question. That's right, it was Su Jingxing who saved him this time. But that was because Su Jingxing and Feng Taijian had a good relationship and Feng Taijian had helped him before. Knowing that someone wanted to harm him, Su Jingxing couldn't just stand by and watch. But that didn't mean that Su Jingxing was willing to be a tool for others. This was because from this angle, the mastermind behind the scenes knew about Su Jingxing's existence. Su Jingxing used to be Yang Jian, and recently, guest Elder Lin. He believed that he had never revealed his true identity. The person who targeted Feng Taijian knows me. He shuddered at the thought of it. Feng Taijian was stunned when he heard that. Can I say that it's intuition? Your intuition tells you that someone will help you in the crematorium? Wu Shuhan asked in disbelief. That's right. You were able to avoid a calamity just by relying on your intuition. Old Feng, are you so powerful? Kong de Bao's eyes were wide. Is Feng Taijian a genius? A hidden genius? Perhaps it was his spiritual awakening that allowed him to grow overnight. Don't joke around. At this moment, I believe that Feng Tiejian's intuition is fake. Sai, what makes you think he's lying? I think old Feng is telling the truth. I think it's true, too, because I've had similar intuition before. The others chimed in and started discussing Feng Tiejian's words. Su Jingxing took everything in and frowned slightly. Intuition. If Feng Tiejian's intuition is really that accurate, then his mental strength might really be outstanding. The sudden impulse isn't something that only martial artists possess. Ordinary people have them as well. Due to certain matters, they will suddenly feel terribly panicked one day. Calling it telepathy was an exaggeration, but there was a subconscious connection. Such cases did exist. For a moment, Su Jingxing couldn't judge. However, he was certain that Feng Taijian wasn't lying. Compared to Feng Taijian, Su Jingxing's soul power was extremely massive, and his ability to predict things was even sharper. You guys asked why Feng Taijian was targeted and assassinated. Aren't you guys curious who saved him? A manager suddenly spoke, breaking the noise and causing everyone to be shocked into silence. That's right. Who saved old Feng? Did you see? A curious expression appeared on Kong de Bao's face as he looked at Feng Taijian and his partner. No. Feng Tiejian's partner shook his head. We only saw those two people rushing towards us. Then, before their blades hit us, they were sent flying by palm imprints that suddenly appeared. Right, the person who saved us is very powerful. He only used 4 palm strikes to leave those two fellows immobile. He looked excited. The others were also astonished. Tsk tisk, I'm afraid those two aren't even in the 7th grade, yet they were injured without even seeing who struck them. The person who saved you must be at least in the 6th grade. Do you even need to ask? If he's not a 6th grade martial artist, would he be able to execute a palm strike from a distance? Attacking from afar, could it be the air-splitting palm? It's the air-splitting palm. Wu Shuhan gave the final word. He looked at the palm prints left on the two corpses and analyzed. The expert who saved the two of them used the air-splitting palm. Judging from the wounds, the other party has at least cultivated the air-splitting palm to perfection. Amazing. Yeah, so impressive. Since when did our crematorium have a 6th grade expert? Maybe he's not just a 6th grade, maybe he's in the 5th grade. Why don't you say 4th grade? Everyone discussed among themselves, making all sorts of guesses. Kong de Bao patted Feng Tiejian's shoulder and said enviously, "Old Feng, you're really something. You actually received the protection of a 6th grade expert. Tell me, when did you get to know the person?" Feng Taijian was rendered speechless, yet he said excitedly, "I don't know, nor do I know that expert. As I said just now, my intuition was just more accurate. TCH, if you didn't know him, would he have saved you?" Kong de Bao said disdainfully. "Right, Old Feng, just tell us. When did you get to know a 6th grade expert?" The manager also grinned. When the others heard this, they too looked at Feng Taijian with hope in their gazes. With an expert, at least a 6th grade expert, as his backer, Feng Taijian could leave the crematorium and go to other higher-level departments to have fun. "I really didn't." Feng Taijian scratched his head and spread out his hands helplessly. "I really don't know him. He saved me just now. Perhaps he just happened to pass by and helped me when he saw injustice." "Your guess might be true." Su Jingxing continued, "The other party saved you, but that doesn't mean that he must know you. If there really is a 6th grade expert in the crematorium, I believe Uncle Wu would have found out long ago." With that, Su Jingxing looked at Wu Shuhan. "Indeed." Wu Shuhan said in a deep voice, "I've been in the crematorium for nearly 20 years, but I've never seen or heard of a 6th grade expert. Do you think any martial artist in the middle ranks would be willing to stay in the crematorium?" "Yes. I am one." Su Jingxing thought to himself, but his countenance remained unchanged. Under normal circumstances, indeed, no martial artists above the 6th grade would be willing to stay in the crematorium. Even if they would have the position of director. In other words, the expert who saved Feng Taijian was not from the crematorium. Instead, he happened to pass by and saved Feng Taijian as an act of convenience. This was also the result of Su Jingxing's deliberate attempt of guiding the conversation. He wanted everyone to divert their attention. Otherwise, once news of Feng Taijian knowing the person who saved him spread, there would be huge repercussions. "Uncle Wu, given Brother Feng's situation, can you temporarily arrange for him to join the martial suppression office?" Su Jingxing struck while the iron was hot. He looked at Wu Shuhan and asked, "This time, an expert passed by and saved him. There will be no one else next time. If the mastermind dispatches men to attack Brother Feng again, he will be in danger." "No." Feng Taijian almost blurted out. He shook his head and said, "I'm not going to the martial suppression office. I'm staying in the crematorium. I'm not going anywhere." "Holy F***CK, are you stupid?" Kong de Bao glared at him. "You said yourself that the expert who saved you was just passing by. Do you think that the next time the murderer comes, someone will pass by and save you again?" Feng Taijian was speechless. He thought for a moment and clenched his teeth. "I think." "You think? Does what you think work?" Wu Shuhan berated, "Let's not talk about anything else. If you stay here, do you know that it will affect others? You may not be afraid of death, but don't implicate others." As soon as these words were spoken, Feng Taijian completely shut his mouth and lowered his head, not daring to utter another word. That's right. If he hadn't been saved just now, not just him, his partner would have died as well. The person who killed him would never let the news leak out. Anyone who was with him would definitely be killed along with him. This was no joke. Su Jingxing saw this and heaved a sigh of relief. It was not that he was unwilling to continue giving help, but if Feng Taijian were to remain in the crematorium, it would indeed implicate others. This time, Su Jingxing had found out in advance and managed to save them. What if the mastermind sent more people to the crematorium next time and Su Jingxing couldn't manage the situation? Thus, arranging for Feng Taijian to hide in the martial suppression office was imperative. If it was someone else who was being followed and murdered, hiding in the martial suppression office naturally wouldn't be that easy. But to Wu Shuhan, this was not a difficult task. With his connections and identity, he managed to settle everything in less than half an hour. The martial suppression office personally came to take Feng Taijian away and send him to their headquarters in the central district. That's right, not the western district branch, but the headquarters in the central district, Li Linzhou's territory. With Li Linzhou's protection, Feng Taijian's safety was basically guaranteed. Of course, it wasn't that Su Jingxing would wash his hands off the matter from here. Feng Taijian was his friend after all. If he had been kept in the crematorium and Su Jingxing were to save him many times, he might expose himself. It was different now that he had gone to the martial suppression office. Su Jingxing could hide behind the scenes and look after him. The murderer would hardly take action during the day and only targeted Feng Taijian at night. This way, Su Jingxing could continue to stay at the crematorium during the day and leave at night to wait beside the headquarters building in the central district. Based on Su Jingxing's deduction, since the mastermind had failed once, they would definitely try again. Even if Feng Taijian was hiding in the martial suppression office headquarters, they would still send people to infiltrate the place. This interval would not be too long. 3 days to a week. The logic was simple. A faction that could nurture sacrificial soldiers wouldn't openly oppose the martial suppression office, but in secret, they wouldn't fear them. Not to mention that each of these major factions had their own people planted within the martial suppression office. It was the same for the Li, Zhou, Qi families and the annihilated Shi family. And the facts proved this. At 3 in the morning of the second day, Su Jingxing, who had disguised himself as Yang Jian, and put on a cloak and mask, was waiting at the top of a building next to the headquarters of the martial suppression office. He saw 3 figures climb the wall and sneak into the martial suppression office from the corner. After entering, there wasn't the slightest bit of activity from the huge martial suppression office. Just as Su Jingxing couldn't help but prepare to go over, the 3 figures that snuck into the martial suppression office carried Feng Taijian and climbed over the wall again. Su Jingxing was stunned. They aren't directly killing Feng Taijian, but are taking him away. The mastermind wants him alive. What exactly did Feng Taijian do? Why are they so adamant on targeting him and even want him alive? Confused, Su Jingxing prepared to stop them. Whoosh! A cold beam of light suddenly appeared out of nowhere and descended from the sky, charging towards the 3 figures carrying Feng Taijian. When it was 10 meters away, the cold light split into 3 and each shot toward a figure. Among them, the figure carrying Feng Taijian flew close to the ground. Swish! 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 Rip! 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 The sound of rushing wind and strange noises sounded at the same time. The 3 figures that had just come out from the right wall of the martial suppression office headquarters building and were running along the quiet path were all struck. 2 of them had their chests penetrated through their backs, and they died on the spot. One of them had his feet severed, and his entire body fell to the ground. Feng Taijian, who was carrying his shoulder, rolled on the ground 3 times, letting out a muffled groan like a pig being slaughtered. Li Linzhou's cold voice echoed in the night. "Since you're here, won't you come out to meet me?"